So the Sanrai group started in 2008 as a home care company in India. In 2015, we expanded to Sanrai International with offices in Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. Our goal is to bring innovative medical equipment to the emerging markets. And of course, our flagship location is in India with Sanrai Med India, where we work directly with patients, supporting them with oxygen and sleep therapy, along with other home care services. We've seen amazing resilience from healthcare providers and hospitals through the last couple of years with the pandemic and even before that. First and foremost, Sanrai is a service provider. So what exactly does that mean? Because of course we provide equipment, and normally people don't think of equipment when they think of a service provider. But for us here at Sanrai, it's not just about the equipment. It's about the service that we can offer. And for us, that means education, that means training, that means support and more. So when we work with the healthcare fraternity, which for us is doctors, it's nurses, it's hospital staff, and of course it's also patients who are a part of this, we don't just focus on equipment, we focus on being a complete service and solution provider for everyone that we come into contact with. Globally, our mission is to improve access to innovative medical equipment in the emerging markets. In India, where we're servicing patients and working with patients directly, our mission is to empower everyone in the treatment cycle, the patients, the caregivers, the hospitals, parents, children, anyone who's a part of that cycle. For us, access is probably the most important part of what we do. It's all about access. How do we make it easy for anyone, no matter where they are, to get the best available care in the world? We focus on products, but it's really about opening up the possibility of what healthcare can look like, even in the hardest to reach areas. And that's our vision. How do we bring healthcare to everyone at the same quality they can get in any country in the world? So right now, there's a lot of challenges going on. The supply chain is incredibly volatile. Logistics is a continuing challenge. These issues, unfortunately, are not going away. And they're something that we have to deal with every day to make sure that we're able to meet that current demand of medical and healthcare devices. So we are very fortunate at Sanrai here that we have a priority position with our suppliers. So what this means is that because we're serving the underserved and we're focused on parts of the world that have historically been overlooked, a lot of our partners in manufacturing, our suppliers, they give us priority. So we get, when there's product available or when there's something that needs to be urgently shipped somewhere, we're very fortunate to be able to have access at the top of the queue with our suppliers. The other thing we do, and what we've done over the last couple of years, is we've added backup options. So for a lot of the equipment that we carry, we've got a secondary supplier, we've got a backup solution, because sometimes it's not about the best, it's about getting something. And we want to make sure that, especially in those crisis situations, we're able to be there with something, even if it's not the most perfect solution. And I think the third thing, and probably the most important thing, is that we are incredibly focused on communication. Our customers, whether they're other distributors or patients, are incredibly understanding if we communicate well. So we let them know in advance, hey, there's a delay on this. Hey, we're trying really hard to get this in, but it's going to be held up for whatever reason. And as long as we effectively communicate, and they can then communicate onwards, or patients or then can make a backup solution, we're able to manage that demand and do our best to fulfill everyone's needs. Fundamentally, we're always looking for what's new. We attend a lot of trade shows. We are very fortunate in the industry that we work in, that if there's something innovative, something new, a lot of times we're approached directly to represent that product in our markets. The other part of this, however, is we have a very deep understanding of our markets. We spend a lot of time understanding where is the future, what's next, what's happening next in healthcare, and what's innovative and disruptive, so that we can then go back when we find something and make sure that it's really the right fit for our markets. And of course, we do have a global footprint. So for an innovative manufacturer, which oftentimes doesn't have the capacity or the capability to distribute their innovations with the right service and support in our markets, being able to work with a partner like Sanrai, who has access to so many countries, we work in more than 50, all in the emerging markets, is a huge advantage. So we, are very fortunate to be able to get the innovative technology and partner with it. I think the first thing that's really happened with COVID-19 is people have understood the importance of their healthcare, and they've understood that medical equipment isn't just for hospitals. Typically before, when people think about medical devices or medical equipment, they think that it's something for a hospital. They think of like an X-ray machine or something that's used in a very complicated or specialized area. Now, people have recognized that medical equipment can be used in all sorts of situations, especially, of course, with COVID, at home. And this awareness is, I think, the first step. It's very important for people to be aware of what's possible in order for them to then start looking at what they can do. So COVID has been an eye-opener for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, so that that's, of course, an opportunity for the medical equipment industry as well. It's the new market with the awareness that's come up. I really hope we are past the worst of the pandemic. Omicron was a very encouraging sign that maybe the severity of the disease has finally been permanently tempered. However, in the case that, there are new variants and there are things that unexpectedly come up, Sanrai is ready with supplying oxygen quickly and flexibly wherever it's needed around the world. However, what we'd really like to do is shift focus to a long-term perspective on improving access to oxygen sustainably. Oxygen is needed for so many diseases, especially pneumonia, which is a top 5 killer in the world. And India actually has the second highest rate of childhood deaths from pneumonia. So any improvement to oxygen can and should be used for these babies. And that's where we see the investment from COVID-19 in really adding resiliency and adding capacity into a healthcare infrastructure permanently. And that's what we're focused on now going forward. So this is really where the Sanrai solution comes in. Emerging markets are brilliant at finding solutions that are better than what the developed world has done. Let's take the cell phone, for example. India didn't bother putting in all the expensive equipment when it comes to landlines and the infrastructure that has to be put in place for a landline system to work out. Instead, India jumped to cell phones, which gives everyone access wherever they are without needing the investment in the infrastructure for the phone lines. We want to do exactly the same thing when it comes to healthcare. Rural India doesn't have the hospital infrastructure, and it's incredibly expensive to build it out, right? Every hospital is millions and millions of dollars or crores of rupees. So how can we fix that? The Sanrai solution. We can bring care to the village. We can bring care directly to the patient using telemedicine and telehealth platforms. There's so many innovative diagnostic tools that are out there. Let's use them. We can treat so many more diseases at home than what we were able to even 5 years ago. India is experiencing more and more chronic diseases like diabetes, like COPD. These can be managed at home. We don't need to build the infrastructure and put the heavy investment in. We need to use the tools that are available to us in the 21st century to bring healthcare to the home. And of course, that's a huge advantage for the rural areas and for the villages where they don't have that infrastructure. We want to do the same thing. We want to disrupt. We want to bring care to the patient wherever they are, especially thinking about those more underserved areas. This is a huge problem. And while it's true, we are an equipment providing company, at the end of the day, really, we are an education company. We focus on innovation. And there's just no way for innovative products to be accepted, not by patients, not by doctors, not by governments, without a huge focus on education and awareness. Our teams, no matter the country, focus on education, training, and support over everything else. Once someone is comfortable with the product, they'll use it. If they're using it, they're going to talk about it. They're going to share that with their friends, their family, other caregivers that they come across, or other support groups of where other people have the same disease as them. The same thing is true for doctors. If we're able to find the innovative leaders of healthcare in a country, and we're able to educate and explain to them what is the new innovation that's available, what's the change in protocol that's saving lives. Once one doctor is comfortable with it, then it's a ripple effect. It spreads out from there. But everything starts with education, and that's our focus, especially because we work with innovative equipment. So I think the gaps are a lot of things that we've already talked about. There is a lack of investment in healthcare, or a lack of people's focus on what's possible or their own healthcare. Oftentimes, and sleep apnea is a great example of this. We think that if a patient, or I should say a person in this case, if a person is snoring, that means they're sleeping well. When in actuality, that's an indicator that there's something that's probably wrong with them, and something that can have pretty significant impacts. So that education gap, or that lack of people taking the initiative for their own healthcare, is challenging. It's something that we have to work every day to overcome when we're talking about bringing innovative equipment for all. So Sanrai is incredibly fortunate that we do work with some of the best in the world companies with our products. So I want to take a moment here to talk about some of those. So we work with Inogen, which is the leading portable oxygen concentrator manufacturer in the world. They have the majority of the market share and the absolute best product when it comes to specifications in the US and Europe. We've worked with them since 2016 as a provider across all of our territories. We also work with other innovative solutions like the ResApp or DMAR. So ResApp is an Australian product that uses your cough sounds into a smartphone application that analyzes your cough sounds. And from that analysis gives you a differential diagnosis, which is incredible for being able to diagnose patients remotely with any type of respiratory disease. And DMAR is an Italian company, which is an innovative solution to keep patients out of the ICU and out of intubation. So we're really fortunate that this type of cutting edge product or cutting edge development that's happened are some of our partners that we've worked with for a really long time. And that's access to underserved markets that our partners have by working with us. For us, it's not just about selling equipment, right? There's so much more to it. And we're very fortunate that we work with, we won a grant that's for oxygen as a service that was funded by UK Aid. And what this grant is looking to do is try and change behaviors. So we know that oxygen is critical. It's essential. When you need oxygen, there's no substitute, there's no alternative. You have to have it. And that means that the infrastructure around oxygen can be difficult. It can be not so resilient. So what we're trying to do is change the way oxygen is purchased by hospitals or by clinics particularly in the emerging markets. So this grant that we've won is exploring an innovative business model to bring oxygen as a service into harder to reach areas. So we're really fortunate that for us, it's not just about innovation in products, it's also about innovation in solutions. The other thing for us that's very important is we're a very open and a collaborative type of organization. So there's a lot of different partnerships that we have that are looking to try and solve whether it's what's next for product development or how to educate patients or advocacy work. We're a part of an organization that's called the Every Breath Counts Coalition, which is a public-private partnership that was actually developed in many years ago for pneumonia awareness, particularly in children. So Sanrai is a proud member of this organization. And for us, it's really about how do we not focus on profits? How do we change lives? How do we make a difference for the most vulnerable of our population, of the world? And that's where we're very lucky that we work with non-government organizations. We work with humanitarian agencies, and we can focus on that very underserved patient, the neglected patient. And that's something that everyone in our company from top to bottom spends time on.